Hello, Warlords. Welcome to Saga Thursday, your regular source for that hot Saga content. Today, as you can see, hopefully, I'm not sure how I'm splitting this video, but we've got Mr. Jeremy live in the Rodgewood studios here, the basement of Shattered Dreams. Various projects surround you. Surely quite entertaining to look at everybody's stuff. That's actually one of my favorite things about going to people's hobby basements and stuff, looking at all their
unfinished projects and watch their souls escape as you go over each individual one.
And see what kind of shattered remnants I can claim for myself. Yeah, you definitely, this project died like 5 years ago. Like, can I just have these like walls here?
Just take that,
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, cool. So Jeremy is one of our local players, and he is getting everything going here lately. He's
been trying. Busy.
Yeah. So he's running an Age of Magic tournament here June 29th.
Yep.
And so if you're in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, we can give you those details. You can pop on by. Should be some fun.
Absolutely.
Trying to build up our Age of Magic community. We've seen a lot of new players.
Quite a bit.
Right, jumping in, but we're going to kick it back to some historical Age of Vikings.
Yes.
Where it all started for some. So Jeremy is quite practiced with the Scots.
I've dabbled quite a bit in the Scots. I know a thing or two.
Okay. So did you play the Scots at Adepticon this year?
I did.
I think you did, yeah.
Yeah, just in the doubles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been playing them since first edition, just, casually, and since second edition came out, we started ramping it up a little bit more, so.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like the Scots. They're the bane of many a newbie out there.
They're a tough nut to crack. Yep, yeah. If you don't handle them just right, they'll give you a hard time.
Absolutely. So why don't we just dive right in here and get into the usual stuff, and hopefully the quality of everything is good so far. This is an experiment, and
well, it sounds good to me.
Yeah, I mean, this is for my knowledge. It's going to be good here. So if we jump right in, the Scottish options are amazingly brief and simple. You've got your Warlords and Hearthguards. They may be mounted, don't have to be. Is there any penalties or bonuses for mounted guys as we're going through here?
Yeah. So a couple things. So first of all, it's going to take you out of two abilities you won't be able to use. Tireless requires you to close ranks. So obviously mounted units can't do that. And then long spears, which you usually want to use to set up a larger combo later on, is specific to infantry. So it only locks you out of two, but it really prevents you from doing some of the big combos that the Scots are really known and kind of disdained for. So,
yeah, I was going to say, at Adepticon and the times I've played the Scots, they haven't had any cavalry except for maybe their Warlord. And that was, I think, more first edition. Just having them be able
they had a good ability to get away in first edition, which they don't have anymore. So, if I take 2 units of Hearthguard, I will sometimes mount them, just for a little bit more reach out and touch you. But if I'm only bringing 1 Hearthguard block, it's usually going to be infantry. So,
okay. Moving on to the Warriors, we have no special equipment to speak of, and the levies can have either bows or javelins. So, have you been getting into the levies in the second edition?
Yeah. Usually I will take them with bows. Usually to generate a dice, an extra dice by splitting them up. But they have a good power that allows them to activate on a common instead of an uncommon or a rare. So, that's pretty good. Okay.
Yeah. Seems like even still in second edition, you want to have a couple battleboard abilities that kind of work with those guys.
Yeah. Otherwise it's maybe not the best to take them if you don't have a good way to take advantage of them, for sure.
Okay, cool. Well, that is our backdrop of our forces here. So let's get into the battle board and chug along here. So obviously in second edition, everybody's been equalized up top. Nothing special going on there. with the Scots. And let's get to the first ability, Stand Together. This is an activation ability using a slippery little snake there. I believe that's the common, is it not?
Common.
Okay. Activation ability for Hearthguards and Warriors, and you can activate a unit to charge. That's nice. During the ensuing melee, your unit counts as being the defender, and its enemy as the attacker. So that is a cool ability. I'm assuming the benefit there, well, you can use a common die to activate any unit, so sometimes that is very handy.
I guess if you took levies with javelins to get them rolling, but it's a okay ability. It's really good if someone's in like a ruins, you can take that away from them.
Oh, cool!
So
yeah,
since
that's
you're
a really
the
good
defender,
point.
you then get that cover bonus. So that's kind of a little sneaky trick you can do to take away their defensive bonus. So
yeah, that is pretty clever. So obviously you could, being the defender, close ranks.
Yep,
would be the option. But if they're just in the hard cover, you're gonna get the 4 up
from it,
and you get to keep all your attacks.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's I've done it a couple times, but you do it once, and most people will catch on quick. But then it also keeps them out of hard cover. So
yeah, so even if it's not doing anything, they're reacting to you, changing their
potential. Yep,
the battle plan, so you're going to get some use out of it.
Absolutely.
So that's pretty cool. I'm assuming the way it used to work was having the extra defense dice was very handy for the Scots. Now blocking on a 4+, is that going to stack with some of these other combos here potentially?
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you can use it offensively, close ranks, even on your turn when you're trying to kill stuff, there's plenty of ways to kind of manipulate that around. They're a little dice intensive battle board, but it makes you guys stay alive a lot longer, and it's really handy. So
cool. That is a decent ability to kick off. Do you want to do Diversionary Volley, the next one down?
Yeah, we can go down.
Yeah, if you want to jump around, that's fine too.
Let's just go right over to Tireless, because that'll kind of make sense then with Stand Together.
Okay, let's do it.
Did you want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay, so Tireless goes off on a snake or I'm going to call it a chicken, but it's probably a pheasant.
Chickens around here.
So so that would be the common or the uncommon. It is a melee power which only works on a unit that has closed ranks, and once the melee has been resolved, that unit removes a fatigue. So if you're going to use Stand Together offensively to charge and then close ranks, you guys won't gain a fatigue. So I have used that sometimes if I want to, say, double charge my opponent, if they've got like a dice generator or a unit that's only got a couple guys left, then you can get something else and your guys will have less fatigue than if they just did that. So
cool. Yeah, that's a very cool ability, and being able to use that on your turn, I mean, that's a pretty hard stipulation, closing ranks.
Right.
So it's going to reduce your combat effectiveness potentially, but the forever Saga problem is going in, laying waste, and then your ass is blown in the wind for the other guy's turn.
Right.
So this kind of counters that a bit.
That's why I really like this one. I use that combination a lot if I just got to get one guy, because then if it's a unit of warriors that are mostly still alive, you should have 3 dice to hopefully take a guy out, and it increases your chance of that one attack slipping through, not taking out a guy. So that's usually where I like to use those 2 powers.
Okay, cool. Yeah, decent ability here. We can see the synergies.
They're starting already.
Growing here.
They're really a combo board.
Okay, cool. So you want to do Diversionary Volley now, or should we jump to?
We can keep going down then, yeah.
Okay. Well, I will do this one. This is another snake. It's an activation, another activate a unit to shoot. So this will be nice again with the levies perhaps.
Yep.
During this shooting attack, you get 2 bonus attack dice, and the enemy may not gain any defense dice. So, wow, that's really decent.
It's a very good power. Yep.
Yeah. Just for pure efficiency. So shooting on a common is good with the levy, like we mentioned. I feel like on other boards, you would just pay the dice for the 2 attack dice and stopping defense dice. So, yeah, a lot of cavalry armies will have like one defensive
ability
shooting,
and you just say no.
No, just say no. So that's good. Yeah, I guess. Could that be comboed with long speed or reach?
With reach? No. Reach requires you to not have ranged weapons.
Okay. So yeah, I guess that is a pretty specific type of ability because your warriors and Hearthguard and your general won't have anything. So it is just the levy. So yeah, I think that actually would entice me to take some bows or javelins.
Yep. I usually, like I said, I usually break them into the 2/6 to get that extra dice because they really need the dice. And the 2 bonus attacks. Rolling 5 shooting attacks is not bad on a common.
Mm-hmm. So. Absolutely. Especially when you know they're not going to be able to do anything else to stop it, cancel it out. Because usually you can get one good shooting saga ability, one good volley, and then they've got one good defense to it, and then like, all right, we're pissing in the wind here.
Right.
We're not getting anything done, but good ability there.
Yep.
So you want to head on down to Beyond the Wall?
Sure. Yeah. So Beyond the Wall is a pretty key power for the Scots. It's what most of their other abilities are basically trying to get to, in my opinion, at least. It goes off on a chicken or the stag, so uncommon or a rare. If you have more defense dice than attack dice, you gain a +1 bonus to your defense rolls. In addition, if you used the rare, you reroll 1s and 2s on your attack rolls. So it's just as good as closing ranks, but you don't have to discard those dice. Or if you did close ranks, saving on 3s is real nice.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty tricky to get. Many warbands can never get there.
No,
unfortunately, but
the Scots, they have their ways.
In Age of Magic, I'm already looking with the Other World. They have a similar ability to this. I haven't utilized it yet because of all my heavy weapon guys, but I'm thinking about the possibilities already. Okay. And but not quite as tasty as this one here. So if you have more defense dice than attack dice, so you basically need to combo this one because there's no way to get defense dice.
Basically, yep. And that's why I said earlier they're a very dice intensive board because it takes at least 2 powers to get this power off. So it's expensive, but it's gonna save your guys.
Yeah, now I think about it. Yeah, it is quite intensive because I mean you're gonna have to close ranks to get yourself in striking distance of this. I mean it's like 8 Hearthguard with 16 attacks. Will be quite challenged to get more than 16 defense dice.
Right.
So, okay. Well, why don't we take a look at those abilities that will get you there then? Okay. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. You said I was long spears, one of those?
Yep. That is, that's usually the first one I'll use.
Okay.
So, long spears only works on infantry without ranged weapons. It goes off on a common, so the snake. It allows you to discard up to half of your attack dice, and you will gain a defense dice for each attack dice you discarded.
Oh, cool.
So that pretty much gets you almost to where you need to be to use Beyond the Wall.
Yeah, so the way that if you have even number, you won't get there.
Right.
If you have an odd number, how does that, you're like going to be 1 short then? If you have 7 attacks...
Basically,
you can discard up to half, so you discard 3, so you're still not going to get there.
You're still not going to get there with just that power. So no, if you had an even number of attacks, you would be almost to the threshold.
Just need 1 more,
and then if you have an odd number, you'd be 1 away from the threshold still.
So you need 2 more actually.
Yep.
But hold at bay though
is the next step.
The next one gives you a nice solid 3. Yep. This is a melee or shooting reaction. Gain 3 defense dice. You can use any dice for this one. If you use that beautiful stag, you can re-roll it and put it on your board somewhere. So that's kind of a nice little touch there.
Will always put you, as long as you didn't discard the maximum amount of dice, will put you into range for Beyond the Wall.
Okay. So to get this off, at a minimum, you just need 2 commons and an uncommon, as far as I can tell. You'll need a dice to activate the unit somehow. So it is essentially half, probably, of
about
of your
resources.
saga juice here. But if you do have a stag, so we didn't talk about this stag really with Beyond the Wall, rerolling 1s and 2s.
Oh yeah.
Do you have a preference for that? Is that where you're going to put the stag, or do you want to use hold at bay to get it back in circulation?
That is the question. That is the ultimate question for the Scots. Where do you spend your rares? They have, not including activation pool, which is generally where a lot of us like to spend our rares, for other powers that our rares are useful for. I honestly usually hold it for no respite. But depending on what I'm planning for that turn will dictate if I'm trying to save my butt a little bit more, hold at bay. Otherwise, if I'm trying to be more offensive, Beyond the Wall. So it's kind of situational where I'll put that stag if I rolled a couple extra.
Sure. So hold at bay, when you use the stag, you don't know what you're going to get. So do you save an ability to go with that, where you know what you're going to do with it?
Yeah, so if a big time I'll put usually the stag on is if, say, I think I might have to spend it. They kind of struggle against some shooting armies, so if you need those 3 dice for your shooting, sometimes I'll roll it and just throw it up there. That way, if I need to use long spears and get that 1 extra dice...
So the combat bonus,
yeah. It's not optimal, but sometimes to keep arrows off you, you got to do it.
Sometimes to win, you got to do.
You got to do it, man.
I don't want to, but I want to win.
But
though.
I want to win. So
okay, so that's cool. I guess I haven't really felt the full might of the Scots here with this combo. I've got one kind of regular Scots guy who kind of lives further away, so we'll play from time to time. And he's never got this trifecta off here, so I'm gonna have to. I'm not gonna tell him.
No.
I mean, if he independently watches this video and picks up on it, it's more power to him.
Yeah.
But cool.
It did take me a long time to figure that combo out, to be honest.
So when it's, I guess, working ideally, like what is it on a unit of 8 Hearthguard? Like how many attacks do you end up with? I mean, basically you're going to do some damage without getting damage in return.
Essentially. That's what it's like when you close ranks normally and you're just praying for 1 or 2 to slip through, except you usually will not lose very many guys. So you're still hoping to get that 1 or 2 through, but instead of also taking a couple casualties, a lot of times you will take none, especially if your unit's full. If they don't really throw everything they have at that unit, your 8-man warrior unit's going to be throwing 7 defense dice that are saving on 4s.
Blocking on 4s, or maybe even threes.
But then they'll have a couple less dice, but then they're saving on 3s. So, I mean, they're a tough nut to crack when they do that. So
that's good. I believe you have a tale you can regale us about Adepticon this year. I'm assuming these abilities were in play.
Yes. So at Adepticon, I had a 8-man warrior block charged by a 8-man Hearthguard block. He Loki'd me, Ullard and Thor'd me. I popped off my long spears, hold at bay, and Beyond the Wall, and I believe I also closed ranks. He did 21 wounds to me, and I saved 21 wounds, and I believe I killed 3 Hearthguard. So it's pretty spooky. It's 5 extra dice doesn't sound like much, but when you're saving 60% of those, it's a lot.
So that was against Rick Feiner.
I believe so.
I played him in the Age of Magic, the first battle report, and I'm not surprised. Rick goes back to Warhammer Fantasy days, and he's quite notorious for his bad luck. So,
Sure.
That probably happened to him a couple times throughout the event, I'm sure. So we can see the potential there. And I guess I mentioned Noob Killer, and I never really went back to it. But so I think this is a good example of why this is a good, a tricky faction for noobs to play against, because your first Saga instincts and is to load up the board. You got 1 or 2 dice to activate. You charge, you use all your abilities, and you kill stuff. And when you do that against the Scots,
they don't die.
yeah, you don't do anything, and then a couple of your guys die, and then it's their turn, and you really don't understand what
happened.
What happened?
Yep.
So this is a sort of example of why, and maybe at the end of it we can talk about kind of how to play against the Scots. Yeah. Obviously, there's some obvious things there, but we're talking about the Scots, how to win with these guys. Right. So let's keep on going through here. So you've got all these defensive abilities queued up. The enemy does not want to engage. And Jeremy, what do you do here?
Well, sometimes you just got to reach out and touch them.
Yeah.
So did you want to read this one, or do you want me to?
You can. Okay. You can do it.
So when they're just hanging back waiting for you to do your thing, because you guys don't have any weapons, right? You're just sword and shield. For a chicken and a snake, you use reach. Reach allows you to activate all of your infantry units to without ranged weapons to shoot, as if they were armed with javelins. These activations also don't generate fatigue. So
that is pretty good.
Yep.
So yeah, that is like the ultimate ability. I mean, they kind of had to put it on here because otherwise you're gonna have games where
everyone's just sitting here not doing anything.
Yeah. So I respect them for putting that in there, right. And I think it is good. I like any Saga ability that lets you shoot for free, because generally shooting units have very distinctive weaknesses that can be exploited. So if you can shoot for free,
it's always good.
It's good.
They're a secret shooting army. Mm-hmm. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, you can move up and then pop those shots. Mm-hmm. So it's like a second turn move when you don't want to engage yet.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to cause some... This is one that's going to really affect the opponent, I think, and how they approach you. One unit at a time. You don't move the whole wall of guys maneuvering up.
Yep, otherwise they just kind of encircle you and reach you.
Yeah, and I think that kind of just plays to your strengths, because you want them to come one at a time.
Yep.
For your ability. It's evil. The sport is evil.
It sure is.
And then... I guess to clarify, the reason diversionary volley doesn't work is it activates a unit to shoot. So this is activating a unit, so that's why you can't stack those. And so maybe that was intentional.
Probably, yeah. Otherwise, they would just be shooting you all day.
Yeah, shooting you with the good stuff.
Yep.
So, yeah, very cool ability. Definitely, we can see how all these abilities are moving you away from the mounted guys. Although, I don't know, there's one here at the end here that's pretty nice, pretty decent. You can get away with it. So I'm going to pop up to no respite. Does that sound good?
Perfect.
So you mentioned this one before as being your home for the rares.
Yep.
Is that right?
Almost every time. Mm-hmm. If the first rare I roll almost every turn goes on no respite.
Okay. So this is an orders reaction. So you're putting this down. You're not even going to use it in your turn.
Nope.
But on the other guy's turn, you can roll 3 of your available Saga dice, place them on your board on abilities without any active dice. So essentially, this is kind of like an activation pool that gives you 1 extra.
Yep.
You can only use it on the other guy's turn. But sometimes with activation pool, you don't have any extra dice because you're already fully allocated here.
Right.
So you'll be able to burn some abilities. And then on the other guy's turn, kind of soup yourself back up to full strength.
Pretty much.
Which is also good. I think with Tireless, we talked about your ass blown in the wind.
Right.
So you can go in, do some kind of devastating attack, and then use these dice to cover your butt.
Yep.
And another thing, too, I think, is a lot of times you got to come up with your plan ahead of time. So there's a couple abilities like this scattered throughout the boards where you can make decisions mid-turn about where your Saga dice go. And I think they're really quite powerful. You can kind of see how lucky you got or you didn't get.
Yeah, like when you're locked into a decision, if that doesn't work out for you, like you're kind of up a creek, right?
Yeah, you're locked in, yeah.
Being able to kind of ad hoc a strategy last minute is real helpful.
Mm-hmm. So obviously defensive abilities will be a priority, but you can also queue up activations, basically whatever the situation calls for. You're ready to go. So that is a good ability. We talked about hold at bay, which is the next one down. Why don't you do counterattack?
Counterattack, the perfect thing to go with hold at bay.
All right.
It is 2 uncommon, so 2 chickens. Melee power that works on Hearthguard and warriors only. You gain 2 attack dice for each defense dice you have.
This is why you can't win.
No,
when you're going all in,
don't win.
When you're going all in, you can't win. You can't do it.
So if I have counterattack, you were asking me before about the Beyond the Wall. If I have counterattack, yeah, my rare goes there because that increases how many dice I'm going to reroll.
Mm-hmm.
But the Scots can get to 32 dice if they really want to.
Yeah, so all this is order dependent. So you pop Beyond the Wall when the time is right, and then the next go around is counterattack to put you back up over the threshold.
So yeah, like a unit of Hearthguard, for example, if you're just going to run through that whole thing, say you don't close ranks, use long spears, you discard your 8 attack dice, make those defense dice, gain 3, so now you're at 22 or 11 defense dice. You Beyond the Wall and then turn those into 22 attack dice, but you keep the defense dice. Those, the old, in first edition, the Scots had to discard all those defense dice. Now they keep those and get more. So you can push close to that 32, which is always nice when you're not losing guys in return.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. Does take the double chicken.
Yep.
So every once in a while, you'll get a respite when you should be taking those licks.
They'll
be lamenting about the lack of chickens on the board here. But I guess looks like, I don't know, is that really the only ability that requires the chicken though?
That requires it?
Beyond the Wall. Could be your other one that you use it for.
Yeah. And reach if you need to. But yeah, the chickens are usually for counterattack.
Mm-hmm. So when you get 2, it's counterattack.
Yep.
And then the third one is Beyond the Wall, or that's the stag.
Yeah, a lot of it just depends on how you're sitting. To be honest, I like having guys alive more than killing, just because if I can kill a couple guys and not lose them, I'm ahead of you in points, where if I start killing guys and still losing some, you can get into a little sticky situation there. But that's why you have no respite. So you counterattack, and then when it's your opponent's turn, you roll your 3 dice and hopefully get a chicken for Beyond the Wall.
Mm-hmm. Or use the counterattack on your turn. Or no respite, and then just hope for the two chickens
again
and get it ready to go.
Yep. I would be lying if I said that's never happened to me.
Awesome. Yeah. So that one, I guess my regular opponent there, he gets a lot of mileage out of that one.
It's
hold
good.
At bay. Just
Get
a real easy.
Yep.
Yeah, real easy way.
Which, when we were bringing up mounted units before, hold at bay can be used on mounted units, so you can still use that combo if you brought mounted.
Okay, so you can play the game.
You can still play the game. It's just long spears that's going to really keep you out of the big combo with the horses, but...
Yeah. Moving quick.
Yeah.
Sometimes good. So, Wall of Spears here is the other one. That'll be very nice with the horsemen. This is a melee ability. It is a uncommon and a rare. Hearthguards and warriors only. Roll a die for each figure in the unit. Gain 1 attack and 1 defense die for each result, which is lower than your unit's armor. So Hearthguard is better. You do have to roll for it, but basically every 2 guys should give you 1 attack and defense with those guys.
Yep.
Is that the math?
About that.
Behind that. And it is popped at the proper sequence, so you can increase your armor to 6 and then use it, and you get a lot more attacks that way statistically. So yeah, that's a great ability. Great with the rare. And attack and defense dice.
Great with counterattack too, because you're getting all them sweet defense dice. You can turn them into meaty attack dice.
Yeah, when you've
got just so many dice.
when you do those two, every dice roll you make, you essentially getting 3 attack dice and 1 defense dice.
Right.
So that adds up pretty quickly here.
Sure does.
I can see the 32 cap. The Anglo-Danes are just crying right now. Yeah.
In the sun. You can almost taste it.
Absolutely. So, yeah, a lot of good stuff here. So, obviously, we have a finite amount of dice. So, are you thinking like long spears, hold at bay, beyond the wall? Is that's your bread and butter?
That's my bread and butter. I've had a good amount of success with that. Like I said before, I like to play, just kind of stay alive and take out a couple of your guys. A lot of times I won't close ranks just because... So if you don't close ranks, long spears gets you more defense dice. So sometimes it's better to have more dice than save on a better number. I've noticed at least I have more luck saving on 4s with 7 dice or 11 dice than saving on 3s with only like 3 or 4 extra dice.
Yeah. So I can definitely see that. I think maybe the nuance of playing the warband is knowing when to do that, because you're really kind of toning down the level of violence when you do that.
Right.
And, instead of eliminating 4 or 5 of his guys, it's just 1 or 2 and all your guys lived maybe, but
you can still, if you can knock out 3 or 4 of them,
he's still effective fighting unit, and you just used a bunch of dice to do that. So, yeah, we talked about. So, do you like warriors or more warriors because of
usually
the bodies?
My usual strategy is a good Hearthguard unit, meaty, just to come in and clean up at the end. But my focus is usually warriors because they're extra wounds and they can still nip off a couple guys here and there. So
close ranks just as well as the next guy.
That's right.
So cool. So great defensive army as we've seen here. What's like the bane of these guys for you?
Shooting.
There's
not. So they don't have a lot of good ways to just get a couple quick attack dice.
Okay.
Your Vikings, some of your other armies, you can spend a dice or 2, get a few extra attacks, and just kind of take care of your opponent. And once they force you to use hold at bay with shooting, you don't really have a lot left to kind of maneuver. So your Irish and Welsh, where they're just going to kind of pelt you and make you come to them.
Yeah.
Usually when you can catch them, like, you just beat them up, but it's really hard to get those extra attack dice and still be able to catch, like, the Welsh who are going to run away, so you got to use 2 dice just to catch them, and now you're looking at a half-empty board going,
it doesn't really...
well, I guess I don't have much to do.
Doesn't really play to the strengths.
Right.
So, okay. How are the Book of Battles scenarios? Have you gotten a lot into those?
We've more been doing the card ones.
So those are more random. Generally like a stand-up fight for the most part. There's some funky stuff in there, but no objective grabbing, which I think the Scots could do that well once you're hunkered down. Yeah, in the couple tournaments I've played, 2 of the missions were actually from the Book of Battles. The objective, pulling them off your table edge, was at Pillage and Loot. I can't recall the name.
Okay, I think that's what it is, but I'm most likely wrong. But yeah, once you get that objective, they only win it back if they win the combat, and so if they don't kill guys, they don't win that combat. So
okay, yeah, that's going to be a tall order. So
right.
If you can try to secure that first against the Scots at all costs,
it's not a bad idea.
Might be a good plan. So okay, cool. So got some obviously good synergistic abilities here. Maybe more so than other boards. They're all melee for the most part. There isn't really a couple activate your units, but no activation reactions or anything like that, right. Really. So to play against the Scots, essentially, you kind of got to pick at them. If you have to do it in some armies have to do it in melee.
Right.
You can take, I think it makes the case for having a levy unit to two shoot to give you some options. But even then, you're not going to get much activations out of that. You can stop one with hold at bay. So you really got to get the job done in melee. So have you been kind of picked apart in melee? Like how do they?
So your best bet for beating the Scots in melee is you gotta charge them more than once a turn. Okay. I've played games where I've made big mistakes and have turned around just because you'll get someone like a couple people locally have played Pagan Roosts where they'll come in and they'll have every time their armor bounces they get attack dice and they'll just blow everything on that one fight. And we'll both be rolling a bunch of dice, but it won't matter because I'm saving on better numbers, you know? So.
Yeah, so I think the key there is kind of just holding back with your abilities. If the Scots player is waiting for you to spend yours, and you guys don't do anything, that's kind of like a win. I mean, it's like a fair fight. So I think in that instance, maybe having bigger units, perhaps, or making sure that the unit differential is there so you have the advantage that way. But otherwise, just kind of recognizing that the first one's not going to go well. You know, one of these fights is not going to be
your fight.
Your fight.
They're going to have one good thing. And to be honest, I'll usually save it for your turn because then I have stuff, I have stuff to do on my turn. So
yeah. So you can see what the other guy's doing. He has to commit to a plan, like we said. You got to put all your dice down on your hearth guards or or your warriors, or you got to come up with your plan, and the Scots have a tendency to stop that plan.
Right. So yeah, a couple powers that are good against them. Another local guy plays a lot of Irish, so they have one, I think it goes off on a rare where they can just stop the saga phase.
Oh yeah, I would definitely do it.
Yep. Because he fights me, and the first time I use an ability, okay, we're done. So that's a good one. I think they're the only one in Age of Vikings that can stop that.
Okay, I was just thinking about that. Yeah,
I thought there was a couple. I thought there was one in the Crusades or two in the Crusades, but yeah. So it's not a huge thing to worry about because they have other things to spend their rares on too, but. When it happens, it hurts.
Okay, cool. So, do you have fun playing the Scots? Does your opponent have fun?
Sometimes.
Do you ever have to give him a little cookie to keep him in? Or?
No. I mean, at least people around here are pretty good.
Yeah, I think we got a good group. Tit for tat kind of play.
Right. Like,
let's re-rack them. Let's do it again.
Right. Kinda. There's good competition around here. So if you get walloped, no one's usually too salty for too long. But I've definitely felt bad for people sometimes. It can feel bad just not losing guys, and but you gotta figure out a way around it.
Yeah. So what models do you use for your Scots?
I have the Gripping Beast Scots.
GBs.
Yep.
Originals. Nice.
Yep. Got the little spears in them. I actually have footsore spears.
Oh, I've heard that's key. Although I've heard the footsore javelins used as spears is the secret sauce there.
That is the secret sauce. Okay, yeah, they are the footsore javelins used as spears. They are basically real weapons. They're like old chaos bits. You'll bleed if you play with those enough.
Night Goblin, Spearman. If you're that old. Cool. Did you do the tartan design paint job on those? Did you give it a crack?
So I didn't.
I think you kind of have to.
Well, there's two reasons.
They're not really Scots.
The first reason is I can't do it because I've tried and it just
lack ability. Okay.
And it turns out, according to the very limited research I did, was that the tartan pattern didn't actually exist until I don't remember the date, but it was beyond the Dark Ages. So
okay.
I'm just going with the historical accuracy scapegoat for that one, but no, I tried a little bit and it's just not my forte. So
well, that's a relief for all the players out there. Keep that in your back pocket if anyone gives you any shit.
And hope that I'm right, because I also could just be wrong. But
well, the sources I've looked at have disagreed quite vehemently with that interpretation. So, okay. Well, before we get to the end of this, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you used a special character at Adepticon or a legendary, legendary unit. So we have 2 here, and I was hoping you could touch on those guys real quick before we let you go.
So you have Kenneth McKelp, King of Alba. So, like most legendaries, he is a point. He gives you 2 Saga dice instead of the 1. He's armor 5/6, so he's hard to shoot. Aggression 8. Yeah. Has normal special rules for warlords, and then his 2 legendary rules. So being within medium of him gives you 2 bonus attack dice each melee.
Oh, that's working against you for being on the wall. I don't know.
Well, you can turn those into
that's right.
Defense dice.
There you
go. This does not apply to him, though. It specifically states that. And then he has Treacherous. So at the beginning of the game, after deployment, but before the first turn, you can choose 3 enemy units and roll a die for each one. If you roll higher than their armor, the men have been hit too much drinking the night before at a banquet that he organized. So they start the game with a fatigue marker and cannot activate during the first turn.
Interesting. I like this guy.
And I would assume since they can't be activated, then they can't rest that fatigue off. So he potentially throws a fatigue on up to 3 units. So
decent. Works better on the lower ranking fellows.
Yep.
More susceptible. Can't hold their liquor quite as well, I guess.
Or
as the boss man.
Right. Like javelin guys or anything where they're just going to come and touch you first turn. Like the Welsh mounted guys can usually get to you in turn 1.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Okay. Very cool. Worth a point, would you say? At 6 points, worth a point in your opinion?
Yeah, he's probably fine. I haven't personally played with him. I wouldn't gamble too much on Treacherous. That's
just a nice bonus.
A bonus, but
I don't know if you said, but he did generate 2 Saga dice.
I think I mentioned that. So if you're buying him, at least you're not losing out on the Saga dice like you do with some legendaries.
Correct, and his ability is kind of like a mediocre Saga ability going off.
Right, but it does help you for those if you're getting fought multiple times in a turn. It's going to keep coming back if you've got people close to him. So that'll kind of help mitigate one of the weaker points of the Scots. So
okay, fella. I'm assuming this is not the one you used.
Nope. My man Macbeth is the one I used. The last Celtic king of Scotland.
All right. Let us have it.
So his stat line, he's basically just a normal warlord. Except his 2 special rules. He is the High King. So with Macbeth, as long as he is on the table, you always roll 6 Saga dice during the order phase, no matter how many you would normally generate. So
very cool.
The game I played in was 4 points in Adepticon, so I had 6 Saga dice and I didn't have to have tiny units. I think there was one other guy, and I believe, if I remember correctly, he was the one that won his team. Okay. They both won that. And he was using Macbeth as well.
Okay.
But,
so how would you take advantage of this in a normal 6-point game then?
I would bring only Hearthguard.
Okay.
And I've tried it a couple of times. It's not nice. Especially with his next special rule down there.
Okay. What do we see here?
So he has Norman Exiles. So he can basically take a unit of up to 8 mounted Hearthguard and upgrade them to Norman refugees for free.
All right.
And basically they have their normal Hearthguard that are mounted, but if they charge, their aggression is 3 instead of the normal 2. So
very nice.
Not bad.
Not too shabby. Can they just activate with the board as normal?
Yep.
With regular guys? So could be a hell of a charge.
Yeah.
With those guys.
But yeah.
It must be 8 exactly though, right?
No, a unit of up to 8.
Up to 8. So, okay.
So yeah, you can have a little smaller unit to try to take advantage of getting
a little
not having
6-pack.
to discard any.
Yeah. 5 or 6 of those guys.
But yeah, I tried 2 games just fooling around where I just did 5 points of Hearthguard, and I did a big 12-man block and an 8-man block of the refugees, and that's a tough nut to crack again.
Yeah. That 12-man block is always an interesting nut to crack. Whatever, it's not optimal. You're losing attacks, but
right.
But
once you lose a couple guys and they still don't, then they don't go away.
Exactly.
You throw a banner in there, and now they shed that fatigue every turn to keep them in the fight. The only weakness with running like a hyper elite list like that is the 6 dice is only if Macbeth is on the table. So if you
go downhill pretty quick there.
If they take him out, you have a sad day. So
okay, good point. If you are playing this fellow, get rid of that guy.
Yep. Yeah. If you're playing against him,
you got a chance there.
You gotta try to get to him.
Okay, fun stuff. All right. Well, we've gone through those guys. Any Merc units jumping out at you? I'm sure if I gave you a heads up on that or not.
Yeah, you mentioned to look into those a little bit.
Some have some synergy there. I don't see any trickery here with the board as far as ways they could interact with mercenaries. No orders or orders reaction type things. So you're going to be limited primarily to the special rules of that unit. So it's more like plug in a gap if you want some shooting or something. Maybe I'm not sure exactly what units they're eligible to take.
They can take quite a few still. They can take shield maidens. They can take Jarl Sigvald and the Gal
Gadel.
Good. I was gonna butcher that if you didn't step in there. So
I'm not sure if that's right, but it feels right when it comes off my tongue. So the reason I would maybe consider taking them, I don't usually play with mercenaries, just because a lot of times I'm practicing for like an event or something. But is they have good ways to be offensive, so you don't have to spend all of your dice. Yes.
To get them there.
I'd say the Galgadel, very good.
Yep, even the shield maidens are still pretty good.
I can see even how Macbeth kind of plugged that gap a little bit with the Norman guys rolling in there with the attacks. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else as far as mercs.
Maybe the monks, because you think these are the guys. Yeah, so every time one of these monks dies, you can roll a dice. So, I mean, maybe getting dice back on your board.
I can see it. It's themey.
Yep. And then
the priest.
A priest.
Yeah.
That way you're gonna get your moose. Is a good thing for the Scots to have. I don't think any of the other ones would really.
That might not be too bad because you're getting a moose and you're going to get the 3 dice off of it. So you're getting a pretty good bang for your buck. As far as some of these other ones, just making sure you got that chicken for counterattack.
Well, and that's the thing. If you get your moose but you don't get your chicken, then you got your chicken.
There you go. Okay. So some attack options there if you're so inclined, but I think you got enough going on there. Don't need it. Maybe even water it down. Might detract perhaps from your overall plan more than give you something that you're not getting. So, okay. Good deal. Well, any closing thoughts here on the Scots? Anything we haven't touched on? Anything coming to mind here?
We covered most of it.
Can the Scots now? I believe in Age of Invasions, are the Scots one of the boards in that? Sorry, I should have queued you up on that. I think the old time Scots, I think, used the Irish board in Age of Invasion. So maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
It would make sense because I think that's where the Scots came from, was Irish immigrants. But
okay,
I think
I don't know.
I do a little research here or there.
I'm sure someone will chime in.
Enough to convince someone at least.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't think they're in Crusade. I don't think they've worked their way forward as far as I recall. So they're limited to Age of Vikings as far as we can tell without doing any research and going to grab the book. So
I'm pretty sure you're right, though. I think they're the Irish or the Old Scots. So
okay, so definitely a great faction. Definitely plays different. Are there really defensive type factions quite like this that can hit as hard as they give it? Or sorry, as hard as they take it. I mean, I don't think it's any more defensive than this.
No, it really doesn't. I can tell.
I know some of the.
I know your Irish can get pretty defensive if there's the moon aligns perfectly. They can save on 2s if you're exhausted and they're in the woods or something like that. Mm-hmm. The Danes can reroll defense dice, which is good, but I don't think it reaches anywhere near the Scots. So
I would just say maybe Anglo-Saxons, just with the bodies.
Yeah,
of just taking it.
Sometimes bodies are better than armor. Yeah.
So very cool. Definitely no reason not to give these guys a shot. If you have some barefoot guys in your collection, some Irish, use them for the Scots. Definitely very, very two different war bands potentially, how you run those. So that's the beauty of Saga. So thanks for coming down into the hovel here, and hopefully the quality will turn out good. Once I see it all, I'll see what we should have done, how it should have been set up with everything, and but we'll have to have you back, talk some other stuff. So what else do you feel like you're an expert on? I mean, people have just soaked up this delicious knowledge.
My knowledge. I dabble in some Norse Gales. I try to play all the factions, honestly, just to kind of...
Okay. Yeah, I know you guys proxy kind of, these are the troops. I'm going to pick a board. Let's roll with it, which I think is awesome. That's a great way.
That's kind of how my mind works. Playing against someone is fine, but for me, I can kind of play against... I learn a little bit better if I try to figure out how they should be played. So we like to play everyone. Me and my buddy that play a lot, we like to just kind of play everyone against each other and just figure each faction out. Even though we might not be interested in playing them, it's good to know how they function. So
yeah, absolutely, I totally agree with that. So what for Age of Magic? What are you feeling so far? Any?
Which one am I not feeling?
I don't know. They're good.
Right now I'm working on Undead.
Okay.
I've got about 40 skeletons ready to roll. I'm just waiting on some Horde models to come in, and then I'll hit the painting hard on them. And there's some Empires and Horde in the back burner.
Future.
Just kinda, the polls are just kind of waiting for a fire to start. So
I hear it. Yeah, I've got all the armies basically accounted for in my mind of what I'm going to do, and I'm already like coming up with new armies, even though I haven't done the first army yet. Yeah. And then I was like, oh yeah, I was going to use those guys. Well, which one do I want to do now? Like, it's tough.
I've been running into having 3 different like model lines or themes for the same.
Oh yeah.
I've been working on a Greek Empire list, and I've also got a couple other ones. I'm like, oh, I could do this for Empire. Wait, I have an Empire list, so I don't need to do that.
Yeah. So a lot of thematic opportunities there, which is very cool. It's definitely getting my hobby juices flowing.
Oh yeah.
A little bit more than the historical stuff has been, but I'm glad to get back to the Age of Vikings.
Feels good.
And we're going to be going to Age of Crusades for next time. Just giving the folks a little tease, a little heads up there. Although now that I've said it, I don't know, I've kind of jinxed it. It hasn't happened yet, so it's just a plan at this point. But thanks to Jeremy. Can folks get a hold of you somehow?
Yeah,
are you on Facebook?
We have a Facebook page called Central Wisconsin Saga Players. I also have been starting to do a little bit of with the Wassa Weird Boys page. So you can contact me through Facebook there. Those are probably the best 2 places to get a hold of me.
Yeah, and we talked about the tournament on June 29th, and from the sounds of it, there's going to be more tournaments in the works that you want to keep going. So if you are in the area and missed that, be sure to pop over to those pages.
And all that information is on both of those Facebook pages. And I'll be reposting that too. So if you can't find it, keep your eye out and it'll be reposted in a couple of days. So
all right. Sounds good. Thanks, my man.
Absolutely.
We'll catch you next time. See you, everybody.
Bye.
Saga.